So today we're talking about 3 secrets that the pros use to help maximize your ancestry experience. These are things that we use every day as professional genealogists. My name is Connie Knox. I have 45 plus years experience in genealogy, and I have the Genealogy TV YouTube channel. If you're not familiar, if this is your first time here, welcome. I also spent 40 years in television broadcasting, so this whole video thing is not new to me. I love it. It's so much fun. So I'm marrying the best of both worlds. My love for genealogy, my love for television and video production. So let's get started. Okay, so 3 secrets the pros use. I'm going to tell you right now what they are, and then we'll dig into them. So the first one that we're going to talk about is hints versus real research. We're going to get into that, but I'm just telling you right now that hints are not everything, okay? Trees, member trees. Do they help or do they hinder? We're going to answer that question. And a trick to figuring out where your ancestors may have come from without using records. So we're going to talk about that. Plus I've got a little bonus tip for you at the end. All right, so let's get into it. Hints versus real research. So here's the deal. Everybody likes to rake the leaves, as I call it. So you like to get on your tree and all those little leafy hints at Ancestry. You see those little green things. And a lot of people like to, you know, sweep all that up, keep their tree clean all the time. Personally, I don't. I only rake the leaves in the area in which I am researching. By what I mean by rake the leaves is chase the hints, see if they're real, ignore them or accept them. And that's the problem of raking the leaves. So many people think that all the leaves in your family tree have to be cleaned up. And I promise you, we're going to get into the hints here in a moment. But these leafy hints are not everything. In fact, they're very few. There's so much more to find. So when we are looking at those little leafy hints, you'll see them on your tree. And then when you dig into them, you'll see that maybe in this case, we have 12 hints that we want to look at. Well, I'm telling you, when you dig into those hints, that they are just a small fraction of what there is to find. And so one of the things that we do is we dig deeper, and we're going to get into how to do that here in just a moment. But the leafy hints, now Ancestry used to say it was only 10% of what they actually have to offer. Now they cannot commit to that percentage because I don't think they really know. So I'm estimating that it's about 10 to 25% based on my own experience. And so we're going to dig into how to find more records for your ancestor. So leafy hints only provide you the low-hanging fruit. There is more to find, okay? So when you get into the hints, you click into that little leafy hint and you get a screen that might look something like this. There are 2 types of hints here. There are member trees and then there are records, okay? And so when we're looking at the member trees, I actually wish they'd flip this upside down. I wish they'd put the member trees at the bottom, but they don't, because it's the last thing I look at. I usually hit ignore, and then I go look for all the records, and then I go back to the ignored section, and I go through and see if there's anything I missed, because I want an unbiased opinion, my own unbiased opinion, right? I want to go through and I want to see if I can find everything I can find, and then go back and look at the member trees and see if maybe there's an image or something that I missed. A lot of times people upload records as images, so it's very well possible that I could have missed something, because the records that they have here at Ancestry are records. They're the records that they have from their collections, right? This is the stuff that Ancestry has purchased or Ancestry has acquired. And so just keep that in mind. There's 2 different types of hints going on in this part of Ancestry's platform. And so we're going to talk about both here in just a moment. So there really is strategies for both. So when we're talking about record hints, there's a variety of things that we can go after, but we want to go after them not only in the hints, but we want to go after them in the card catalog. And what I'm telling you is that the card catalog is your superpower. This is what the professionals do first, is they go to the card catalog. So when you drill into the card catalog, and you do that by hitting the search tab and drop down to card catalog, you get something that looks like this, okay? And there's really good, effective use for the card catalog. So what we do when we get to the card catalog is we use the filters on the left first. And what we want to do is we want to search first by location and then time period. And lastly, if we need to, category, okay? So if we're drilling in to those specific areas, we can really narrow this list down. If you look here, there's 33,000 records. I'm going to demonstrate now how you can use this effectively. So let me pop away from this presentation just for a minute. So when we go to the card catalog, we hit search and we drop down to card catalog. In this case, what I want to do is I want to research an ancestor, Robert S. Dunbar, okay? And as you can see here, there are 5 hints listed here. And I'm going to open this in a new tab just so I can preserve my profile here and I can refer back to it. So here we have 5 hints, and I'm just going to briefly talk about this. So we've got a city directory, we got the 1840 census, we've got a soldier's grave registration, we've got a death index, and a newspaper, an obituary, it looks like, for Robert S. Dunbar. Okay. We're not going to dig into those right now. We could certainly do that, but I want to show you how by going to the card catalog that this hint list is not everything. Okay. Now you should know I've already ignored the member trees in this case, just for this demonstration. Okay. So we've got Robert S. Dunbar here. And one of the things that I wanted to do was I'm going to come over here to the card catalog. I'm going to drop down to the location first. So Robert S. Dunbar is in Jefferson County, Ohio. Okay. So we're going to go USA. We're going to drop down to Ohio. And then I'm going to drop down to Jefferson County. Now, if you don't find enough records in the county level, like here we've got 4 sets of records, you can back up and remove the county to get more records. Now, keep in mind, when you drill down to the county level, it's not pulling in the census, which is really more of a state level thing. So just keep that in mind, that the census records are not going to necessarily show here. Now, I've already kind of pulled these records up, but I can tell you right now that 2 of these at the top, the 2 newspaper records, do have information for us. This one did not, so we're not gonna go into that. And then this one does. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Steubenville Herald, and we find that there is a record here, a notice that Robert S. Dunbar, who was dangerously ill a few days ago, is some better. Now, what's interesting about that is this was 1897, March 3rd, 1897. He dies later that year. So I don't know if maybe this is the precursor to his illness, where he passed away. Okay, so that's something to look at. This was not in the hints. Okay, that was on the original hint list. Say that 10 times real fast. Here's another one. Now, this was the other newspaper, this second newspaper card catalog, where I found the death record for his wife, but it does name him and gives us a lot of information. So this was from February 1900, where it says Robert S. Dunbar, who died 2 years ago. So that's our guy. So we know that this is the right record. And the children actually match up and the location matches up. So here's another record that we did not find in the hint list. Okay, so then we have a Union Cemetery, Steubenville, Ohio, burial record. There's not a lot here, but it does give me a little bit of information. And yes, this is my guy. It is another piece of evidence. So all of this I found without the hint list. It's not in this list here that Ancestry delivered. This is more information that I can find, but none of this is the same as what I found by going through the card catalog. So that's my point. Go to the card catalog. There is more to find there. And this is one of the secrets that the pros use. Okay. So we're going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation now. Moving on to secret number 2. Can other member trees help or hinder? And I put, can others help? Yes, they can, and no, they can't. They can help and they can hinder is the answer to this. And I'm sure some of you may already know this, but any public contribution to any tree, any platform that the public is putting up, we need to make sure that we're verifying before we import them. And so here's an example where I am looking at an ancestor This is John Henley from Back Creek, Randolph County, North Carolina. These are the member trees. So we would click on the review of the member trees, and you would get a list of member trees that have likely, I'm going to say likely, the same ancestors. Pay attention. Okay. So a lot of people, what they do is, if you'll notice here, there's 10 member trees. I'm only showing about 1 1/3 here. I do have permission from a Wheeler White Tree to use this as part of my demonstration. So I appreciate that, Mr. Wheeler, for allowing me to do that. And so here we have John Henley Sr. in his tree. We just need to pay attention. We need to really focus here because it's really easy to quickly check all the boxes and move on. So one of the things that you want to do when, it's kind of strategies for importing, right? Is you want to pay attention to the tree that you're paying attention to, and you do not want to check all trees. There is a strategy for when you would want to do that, but I rarely do that. I usually am more focused on the records. So we want to review the sources and the records and import information one tree at a time. So what we really want to do is pay attention to the sources, the records, the photographs, and the stories. Now, if you'll notice here, there's quite a few sources, records, and stories. Now, Ancestry will always deliver to the top of this list on the left-hand side the trees with the most sources and records, okay? And a lot of times you'll find in this list that people are just importing from other people. And a lot of times they're not importing the sources, they're just importing the people. So if you're seeing nothing up here, that is caution. Basically, don't import, because they're getting that information from somewhere, but they're not telling you where. And it might be personal knowledge. It might be that they got it from some source from decades ago that, before computers, and they pulled it out of a book and they just typed it into their ancestry tree. We don't know. But what we want to do is we want to verify with records what this is. So we're going to dig into those sources and we're going to pay attention to the ancestor's name, all of the data, make sure it compares with ours, and see, in this case, the highlighted stuff says it's new. The birth date is the same, and the death date I have here is the same. This is the same information. So he's got new information on the Greensboro, Guilford County, North Carolina, as birth information, which is very probable because I know that these guys were Quakers. They migrated from Pasquotank County on the coast of North Carolina over to Greensboro and eventually down to Randolph County. And actually Randolph County was born from Guilford County. So it's very possible that that border change happened during his lifetime and he didn't move at all. So we have more investigation to do here, okay? But we're going to dig into those sources, and by doing that, we're going to click on John Henley Sr.'s name in order to do that. So once we're in here, one of the things that we really need to pay attention to, because a lot of times this can look like our very own John Henley in my own tree, we need to pay attention to the fact that we are watching his tree and not my own, okay? So we're going to dig into the facts and we're going to look at the sources, and we're going to kind of get a sense of what he's got going on here. And so as we do that, we can scroll down, we can take a look at what he's got in his sources as compared to my own tree. A lot of times I will open this up on 2 different windows, and I will look at the other member's tree and I will look at mine simultaneously, and we can kind of drill in one by one each source and see if it is what I already have, what I don't already have. And as I drill into those sources, I can decide, oh, I need to import this into my guy. And so that is kind of a quick way that we can carefully go through those sources and records to see if we've got. Make sure you check the gallery too for the photos, because there may be more information there. All right, so we have some North Carolina wills and probates. Oh my gosh, if you can find wills, those are great. And so what we want to do is we want to always drill into the image. When we click into it, we might get a side panel that pops out. This is not enough for me. I'm going to drill all the way into the record. And as I drill into the record, one of the things that I'm going to notice here is this record has some some original signatures on it. And so that is something that is of interest. This is John Henley Sr., and he has signed and sealed his will. And then one of the things that you want to pay attention to is the witnesses. And quite frankly, everyone in this document you want to make note of. This is part of the fan club. Those are the friends, associates, and neighbors. And when we pay attention to the witnesses, we might see something that rings a bell, as I did with Barnaby Nixon. As soon as I saw this, I went, well, wait a minute. I think I have Barnaby Nixon in my tree. Let me go look. Sure enough, I have Barnaby Nixon in my tree. I just did a quick, simple tree search from the tree menu, and I found Barnaby Nixon. And he is my first cousin 5 times removed. And when I click through, I can see the path because he's already in my tree. So now I have further confirmation about this will, that this will belongs to somebody in my tree. And so, you know, it's just paying attention to the details that will really take you further with your family history. So now we're taking a look back at the will from the hints list, right? And we can see that Keziah Nixon here is already linked to this document, and she is the spouse. So this is good to know that I had previously done this. And so I've got that in there. So now I can take that will and I can transcribe the whole thing. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how important this is, especially with wills and probate packets, to transcribe it, because when you transcribe stuff like this, you not only have a searchable document for names, but you now have paid attention to the details that you likely did not pay attention to before. All right, so when we have imported that into our ancestor's profile, we can now have the option here to choose why I accepted this hint, whether it was the right name, right place, right relationships, etc. This helps the algorithm. I highly recommend that you do this extra step. It doesn't take but a moment for you to do it, and it helps everyone. All right, there are some exceptions. Now remember, I said when you don't really want to select all trees, there are times when people will do this. You will see people who are doing DNA research, including professionals, will do this. They will create what's called a quick and dirty tree. And this is when people are looking to search and seek other, like the DNA cousins, for example. They're not sure how these DNA cousins relate. They might attach them as floaters in the family tree, which is a whole other strategy. But they will accept this stuff quickly without a lot of verification. I usually have at least one document to give me verification if I'm doing this, but it helps you build that through line from your DNA cousins to your ancestors so that you can quickly figure out how these DNA cousins work. This is the only time that professionals consider it okay to do. So be mindful that when you are looking at it, that you might be finding some of these trees in here with no documentation, and it might be because they're doing a quick and dirty tree. So, you know, it's common for people to do that. So just be mindful of that. So there are times when it happens. All right, secret number 3. This is the trick to figuring out where your ancestors came from without records. And we do this with DNA and the ethnicity estimates. So basically what we're doing is we're working from the known to the unknown. And then we do this anyway with our traditional genealogy research. We want to always work from the known to the unknown. We want to get everything we can from the known ancestors before we work back to the unknown ancestors. So here what we're going to do is we're going to go through this process of elimination. We're going to take what we know about our ethnicity. We're going to go through this process of elimination to see what's left. So here we are in the family tree. Just as a refresher for those who are not familiar, Ancestry DNA is autosomal DNA, and we get 50% of our autosomal DNA from our father and 50% from our mother. So do your parents, right? They got 50%, which means we have 25% of the DNA from our grandparents. Now, just as a side note, keep in mind that we inherit, let's take our paternal grandfather, for example. We inherit 25%, which means we don't inherit about 75%. So there are going to be lines in your family tree at times where you don't inherit any DNA from certain branches of the tree. So as we go back in time, you can see our 2 times great grandparents, we're only inheriting about 6.25%. About, it's going to range a little bit, but that means we're leaving behind what, 95, 96%, no, 94 to 95% of our ancestors, our 2 times great grandparent, right? This grandparent right here, we're not inheriting most of their DNA. Over time, we lose it. So just keep that in mind. All right, so moving forward, I know that this branch of my grandfather comes from North Carolina. At least at this moment in time where I am in my genealogical journey, I know that this whole section comes from North Carolina. Where they go beyond that, we'll talk about that. I do know that my grandmother here was 100% Danish, so this entire line comes from Denmark. Well, my ethnicity estimate shows 27% Swedish and Danish. So I can plug in that 27% right here because I know that. I know that on my mother's side, my mother was adopted. And I know after doing some research about these family lines that they come from Ohio, West Virginia, and Virginia. And we know that borders change in that area. So it's likely that they're all kind of roughly in the same area. All right. So, but we don't know beyond that. Okay. So let's figure this out. So this is the Danish line right here. We can cross that off our list. We have England and Northwest Europe at 35%. Well, if we look at the breakout between the maternal side and the paternal side, I can see that 14% comes from the maternal side and 21% comes from the paternal side. Okay, that equals that 35%. So we're going to take this and we're going to take a look at the tree now and say, okay, if we've got 21% on the paternal side and 14% on the maternal side, what does that look like? And how do we know based on our research? So we can go up to the North Carolina folks, we can do some research, and we discover that there are quite a bit of them that come from England. So that explains the 21%. Remember, it's about 25% for this group. So that explains the 21% that is coming from the paternal side. That leaves 14% on the maternal side. Well, doing some further investigation, I learned that this couple comes from England, or at least their ancestors do. And so now I have an understanding of where this ethnicity estimate is coming from. So we can then take a look at crossing that off because we have that 35% represented. Now what's left? Well, we have Scotland. And Scotland is on the maternal side only. This was my mother who was adopted, right? Had no clue that her ancestors came from Scotland. And we also have Ireland down here at 7% on the maternal side and 2% on the paternal side. So let's see how that could look on the tree. Well, 26% Scotland is about this whole, could be, likely, this whole chunk of ancestors down here, okay? And, you know, it could be that Ireland comes from one of these 2 great-grandparents over here, actually 2 times great-grandparents. And so we have some places now we can go look, okay? Now, we're not going to go into all of this ancestry investigation now, but what we do know is that we have some potential places to go look, because this Irish on my mother's side is 7%, this is 6%. It's certainly within the range of what it could be. And so one of the other tips that you can do is to look at the origin of the surnames in this branch of the tree, okay? And then we can also look at the features of our ancestors and the descendants, right? For example, some of them might have red hair, you know, that kind of thing that might give you an indication as to where they come from. You can also group your DNA cousin matches along the branches of the tree and look at their trees for further investigation. And so that helps. When I did a little bit of digging on the surnames of these folks in these branches that I'm investigating, I find that Smith comes from England and Scotland. This is just a simple trick. You can go to ancestry.com/learn/facts and plug in the names to see what they say are the origins of these surnames. And so by doing that, you now have a little bit of information, and it could be that Scotland is mixed up. Like, let's say this Smith comes from Scotland. It could be that, 24% of Scotland comes from here and 2% comes from, down here somewhere. So you're getting the idea. Just do a little research on the surnames. We've got Davis that comes from England and Wales, which is probably this line. Simmons, which is right here, is Southeast England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, based on my research there. Dunbar definitely comes from Scotland. Coss comes from Ireland. And Wade is an English name. So we could have a mix of Scotland and England across these 6 ancestors. But we now have a little bit more ammunition as to where to start looking. Also, what you want to keep in mind is migration patterns. So we've got Scotland up here and England down here and Ireland over here. It could be, these, and Wales over here. It could be that all of these ancestors back farther in time were migrating from one place to another. Okay. So just keep that in mind too, because these ethnicity estimates are based on, a wide range of a couple hundred years. So definitely have some places we can look and go play with. And so that is kind of how you can figure out how you can find some potential homelands of your ancestors without any records. So now we're going to get into our bonus tip here, and we're going to talk about some common mistakes that people often make. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about importing duplicates. Now, this happens a lot. It's a common mistake. I see people ask me about this all the time, and I too do it occasionally. And here's an example where I have 2 people by the same name. They're born in the same year. I know that might be difficult to see, but it says 1869. This one says July of 1869. Ora A. Ammerman, Ora A. Ammerman. I know this to be the same person. If you'll notice, one is listed as a male, one is listed as a female. I have no idea when or how I imported this. It was probably decades ago. But here they are. How you can figure this out is go to your tree and do a search for these people to find the duplicates. And in this case, you can see that I have 2 people by the same name. So this was a great example of how to fix this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull both of them up side by side and take a look and go, okay, which one's the right one? And we're going to do some little investigation. You can see there really are no sources here except for past ancestry trees, which probably came from the old software. So we're going to take the information that has the most information. And so in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to merge with duplicates. So we can get it there 2 different ways. You can go to the tools and drop down to merge with duplicate, or you can click it from here in this toolbar if you have this turned on. So if you're not seeing this little convenient toolbar, you can click on tools, drop down to show research tools, and that'll give you this extra little toolbar that I find quite convenient. So click on merge with duplicate, and then what you do when you get there is this is the information that we started with that has the more information, the July 1869, and then this one is the other person that just had the 1869, and all we have to do is click merge, or we could compare the information. In this case, there's very little information, but wherever this radio button is, you can click the radio button and choose the information from either side. So let's say there was death information on this side that we wanted to pick up. We click the little radio button, on this side, and maybe we pick up the birth information from this side, the death information from this side, we hit merge, and away we go. And so then that information is merged. So one of the things we can do to prevent this from happening in the first place is to take a look, like we're in an ancestor's profile, right? And we hit that review button, and then we get a screen that looks like this. We have, in this case, 10 member trees. We check the boxes. And then as we are merging that information over, you can see where all this checked information is going to be added to your tree as new. Remember, this side is the stuff that's on my tree, and then this is coming from the other member tree. And so if this person was already in my tree, let's say it was Eliza Ellen Troy instead of Toy, and maybe it's not showing here because the name is different, or maybe it was completely different. It was a married name or a maiden name or whatever different in my tree, and it's not even showing here. That's how we can end up getting duplicates. And sometimes it might just say E Toy, And so we don't have that same information, or maybe it wasn't linked to this person in my tree. Anyway, long story short, be careful when you are merging information in to help prevent getting those duplicates in the first place. So to avoid mistakes, why is this important? Well, really, we want to have the cleanest tree we can possibly have, right? We want to have confidence in your tree. You want to be able to share that information with your family, and you want to prevent others from following your train wreck if your tree is a train wreck. So we can do things to help prevent that. We can learn the skills to help prevent that in the first place. So what did we learn today? We learned that hints versus real research, that hints are only providing the low-hanging fruit. It is not everything. And that the card catalog does give us 100% of what Ancestry has to offer. By searching by location first and then era, we can drill into the records we need. We talked about member trees, whether they help or hinder, and the answer is both. Member trees can send you to the records that you did not see before. And, with caution, we can use the records that we find in other member trees, but we also just need to make sure that we are verifying. So we just need to make sure that we are being cautious when importing from other trees. So yes, they can be helpful, but verify with records. The third thing we learned today was a trick finding where your ancestors came from using DNA ethnicity estimates and a process of elimination. So we take what we know and go to the unknown. We talked about the bonus tip of common mistakes by importing duplicates accidentally, and how to fix that by finding duplicate ancestors in the tree and how to merge those duplicate ancestors. My question is your tree a mess? We've all done it, right? We've all imported from other member trees without verification. We've attached the wrong person to our tree or to our ancestors. Or maybe we didn't understand how to find those missing ancestors, or perhaps we didn't know where to look for those records. We have a lot of wants when it comes to genealogy research. We want to be organized. We want to be focused. We want to have a clean and proven tree so that we can share that with our family and preserve our family history. The more we do today in preserving our family history, the better, because as you know, with time, stories get lost, people pass away, and they take that family history with them. So let's try and do what we can to preserve that. So my question is to you, are you stuck? Are you stuck on finding the records? And is your tree a mess? Are you unsure or unorganized with your family history? Do you have the skills needed to take your research back? One of the things that we talk about a lot at the Genealogy TV Academy is research notes and how important they are. In fact, this is one of the things that I harp on a lot because I believe truly that it is in the research notes. When you take good research notes and you do it thoroughly, you find the answers, because you're finding things that you never saw before. And with the good research skills, you can break down those brick walls, right? You can claim victory. You find the records, you're organized, and you understand the research so that you have confidence in your family tree and you can share it with your family. So my question for you is, what did you find most useful in this presentation? What was your takeaway? Were there any aha moments for you? If so, let me know about it. Now, if you're interested in learning more about research skills, let me tell you this funny story, because this is kind of the whole premise for why I do what I do. I am a photographer. I like to take pictures. It's mostly a hobby, but I like to take wildlife photography, pictures of bears and birds and fox and whatever I can. Nature photography, I like, landscapes and scenery and stuff. And so I belong to a local camera club. And this is kind of silly, but this is why I started doing the Genealogy TV YouTube channel, was because every time I went to a camera club meeting, the conversation went from cameras to genealogy, and people kept asking me the same questions over and over again. And I kept thinking, I'm answering the same questions over again. I ought to just create a video. And then the light bulb went off and I said, well, wait a minute, maybe I could create a video. I've got the skills from my time in television broadcasting. And I love doing video production and I love genealogy. It's kind of a marriage made in heaven when I created the Genealogy TV YouTube channel. And so that's one of the reasons why I started, because the Camera Club meetings kept going to genealogy research questions, during our social time together. So that's a true story as to why I started Genealogy TV Academy. So one of the things I started looking at when I was researching to do the Genealogy TV YouTube channel was that no one was really teaching skills necessarily. Certainly not on YouTube. They were teaching a lot of things about how to do your German research or how to do your French research or similar, kind of things, but they weren't really teaching the skills that I thought people should learn in order to really be able to take their research back. So that's kind of why I started creating that Genealogy TV Academy, so that I could really dig in deep and help teach the research skills needed to take your genealogy back generation after generation. So I created the Genealogy TV Academy and launched it in March of 2022. All right, so if you want to learn the skills and get organized and do record research, evidence analysis, evidence correlation. So we take the evidence, right? We really dig into it and we learn about what the little hidden gems are that are in the records, that a lot of times kind of like reading between the lines, right? It's some of the information that we can learn from the records based on the information that's there, but then goes one step further, and some of the things that we can deduce from those records. Then we can take each one of those records and compare them to each other. That's what evidence correlation is when we're comparing the facts and we're comparing the evidence. That is correlation of evidence, because that is a skill in itself and teaches you how to prove pieces of your lineage based on the correlation of evidence. And then we talk about documentation and what we find. And we talk about all the different research tools that are available to us and research strategies. So these are the skills that you can learn at the Genealogy TV Academy. And this will help you take your tree back further. Really, once you learn these skills for one ancestor, you can do it ancestor after ancestor, generation after generation, and take it back as far as the paper trail will let you. Okay, so this is all taught at the Genealogy TV Academy online. It is 2 components to the Genealogy TV Academy. There's the self-guided course and the live classroom. It is a monthly membership. So once you're in, you have it all at your access. So the self-guided courses, there's 2 of them. One's called Getting Started in Genealogy. The other one is called Smart Research. And so Getting Started obviously is a beginner's course. And then the Smart Research is an everybody course, because it doesn't matter what level you're at. The Smart Research skills that we teach there are a guided path, both in the Getting Started and the Smart Research is a guided path to take you further with your skills. These all have lessons and videos and handouts and worksheets to help you go through it. Now, it is free form. You can jump around as you wish. If you feel like you've already got a good handle on a lesson, you can skip over it and go to another lesson. It's all easy and free form for you to do at your own pace. Then there is also the live classroom presentations. Those are held monthly. We have one a month, teaching a different skill. Those are held the first Wednesday at 3 p.m. And yes, they are recorded. So if you are not able to attend, or perhaps you're working or you have other commitments, you can watch the recording later. But if you want to participate in the live presentation, those are at 3 p.m. Eastern on the first Wednesday of every month. With that, also, we have a Q&A, because a lot of people have questions. So I have what I call office hours, and those are once a month. They are an hour each, and they are also on Zoom. And those are the third Wednesday of each month at 3 p.m. And yes, those 2 are recorded. So if you were to send in your questions in advance, I will answer them on the live presentation. Or you can also join the Zoom class live and ask questions right off the cuff, and I will do my best to answer them. So that's all. Both the live presentation and the live Q&A is once a month each. So we meet every couple of weeks. The handouts and the worksheets also are invaluable. Those come with each of the live presentations, and there's a lot of information available in those to help you work through your research problems and help you really think through some of your research questions that you're working on. There's also the private Facebook group. It's called the Genealogy TV Insiders, and this is a great place where you can ask questions immediately. You don't have to wait for the Q&A session. And so you can jump on there and ask a question, and everybody in the community is invited to help answer. If they know the answer, jump in and help answer questions. I try to get in there every day and answer questions, but a lot of times the community answers them immediately because there's a lot of people that are hanging out on Facebook on a regular basis and they have it open all the time. And so when they see somebody pop in with a question, they'll jump in and answer. Collectively, with the handouts now and the insider group added to it, that brings us to an annual value of $6,700. with everything included. And again, everything is included with your membership. So my question for you is, how much is it worth to you to have the confidence in your family tree, to be able to find your ancestors, to break down those brick walls, to get organized? That's a big one for a lot of people, is to learn how to get organized, learn how to find the records efficiently, and use those same skills over and over again, ancestor after ancestor, generation after generation, so that you can share your family history with confidence. So I would love to know in the chat window or in the comments sections what you think that is worth to you. Collectively, we're at $6,700 annually. Membership is $59 a month. That is quite a savings. But right now I am offering it for $44.25 a month. That is a 25% discount on your membership for the life of your membership. So as long as you're a member, you'll have it at that rate. And it's a one price fits all. You get all of the stuff in the Genealogy TV Academy. If that is something that is of interest to you, go to genealogytv.org/academy. You'll click on the Get Started button and you'll use the promo code GTVA25 and then use the % symbol. That is your promo code, GTVA 25%, to get the discount code on the membership right now. So when you go to Genealogy TV Academy, genealogytv.org/academy, this is what you'll see. You click on the red button to join. Don't forget to use the GTVA, that's for Genealogy TV Academy, 25% is your promo code. So I want you to know that we are committed to your learning. We are committed to helping you with your genealogical journey, okay? And once you start to learn these skills, you'll start to see the Genealogy TV happy dance popping into your head. You'll be like, woohoo, we got it figured out. Yay, we found some things. So one of the things I have for you is a guarantee. Your satisfaction is our priority, right? So if you change your mind and you are not satisfied for any reason, just send us an email within 14 days of your purchase and we'll give you a full refund within 24 business hours. That is my guarantee to you, okay? So if you sign up today, you will also get 3 free handouts. They are 10 tips to breaking down brick walls and getting unstuck, how to create great research notes, how to group your DNA matches on Ancestry into 4 groups of your grandparents. So that's like 4 branches of the family tree. And so those 3 handouts are available to you as a bonus gift for signing up today. Collectively, that brings our annual total to $67.75. And again, right now you can get it for $44.25 a month. That is a huge discount, and I try and make it as affordable as I can for everybody. And so if that is something that you are interested in, I hope that's something you'll consider. So my question is, are you ready? Are you ready to stop making mistakes and to get organized and to prove your lineage, learn those research skills so that you have the confidence in your research and in your family tree so that you can share it with your family and future generations? Quite frankly, I'm thinking of my family tree as I am creating it for future generations that I'll never meet. These are people that aren't even born yet. And so that is my goal. And so when you join the Genealogy TV Academy, you'll get unlimited use of all the courses during your membership. You will have new lessons every month. You will have access to the live Zoom meetings where you can ask questions. We have the Q&A sessions. We have access to all of the past sessions that you haven't attended yet, because there's a ton of information there that you can access right now, right today. And of course, the handouts and the worksheets, and access to the Genealogy TV Insiders group. This is a private group. You won't find them if you search them. You have to be invited. I answer a few of the frequently asked questions, and the one of which I get is, who's teaching the courses? I am. I'm teaching all of the courses right now. If you like what you've been seeing on the Genealogy TV YouTube channel, then I think you'll appreciate what you're finding in the Zoom presentations, as well as what you find in the online courses. The courses are, all of them are recorded and available. Hey, did you know that you can get everything I produce all in one place, commercial free? Well, now you can at the Genealogy TV Academy. For one membership price, you can get an all-access pass that includes all of the online courses, all of the YouTube channel videos dating back to 2022, early release of any new videos coming up on the YouTube channel, the live classroom instruction via Zoom, and the handouts and worksheets associated with all the videos. If you want to learn more, go to genealogytv.org/academy. And with that, I really appreciate you attending today. Thank you so much, and we will see you hopefully at the Academy. All right, we'll see you later.